Mr. Pillai, Mr. Lainpo Thakur Paudial, Sri Salil Bhandari, Dr. Tasir Al-Nuami, Srimati Vibhapuri Das, distinguished guests, participants in this conference, and friends. It's indeed a great pleasure as well as an honor to be here to participate in this Global Education Leaders Conclave, particularly on the theme of bridging barriers, harmonizing global efforts towards achieving education for all. I'm truly delighted to be here to participate in this particular conference, which has such a theme which is of a great contemporary relevance. And I would like to congratulate the organizers for having brought the education leaders in this conclave together from worldwide. And I certainly hope that in this conference, a lot of issues relating to education sector will be discussed threadbare, and that would be an input to policymakers like me. I must say that what I'm going to say, there is a certain amount of overlap between what I have said and what I'm going to say and what Vibhapuri has already said. She has preempted many of the things that I was going to say, but that is all right because we work together. She is the Secretary in charge of Higher Education in the Ministry of Human Resource Development, and I'm part of the Planning Commission, and I look after the education sector, among others, education, labor, employment, skill development, sports, youth affairs, social justice and empowerment. That's my portfolio in Planning Commission. She said that she was very kind when she said that I have the last word in education. That's simply not true. You know, in a democratic setup, nobody has the last word. But yes, we work together, and we are right now working on the 12th five-year plan, where on the education sector, particularly, we're working together. Well, friends, as far as our country is concerned, education sector has always been important, but the importance of education sector today is far more than it ever was. And that's for two reasons. One is something which has been talked about a lot here in terms of demographic dividend. Our country has come a long way. We all know that in 1991 we had an unprecedented macroeconomic crisis. After that, when the policy reforms began, our growth track record of economic growth has been truly amazing and very, very impressive. From 1951 to 1986, we grew at the measly rate of only 3.5% per year. But after the crisis, when we unveiled a comprehensive reform package, the economic growth has not looked back. First 10 years of reform, 1992 to 2002, we grew at the rate of 6% per year. 2002 to 2005, we grew at the rate of 8% per year. 2005 to 2008, we grew at the rate of, on an average, a rate of 9% per year. And then came the crisis of September 2008, the global financial crisis, where all the countries were affected in varying degrees, while many other countries, particularly in the advanced world, they slipped into recession, deep recession indeed, and they're still struggling to come out. India was also affected, but only marginally. We came out relatively unscathed, and in the crisis year of 2008-2009, our growth rate was still as high as 6.8%. Which was remarkable given the situation, because when United States and other countries went into recession with minus 4% growth or minus 3.5% growth, we came down from 9% plus to about 6.8%. This was the crisis year of 2008-2009. In the following year, 9-10, we bounced back to 8%. Then we improved further to 8.6%. And today, we are struggling at around 8%. There are some latest revisions. So generally, it is believed that we'll grow at the rate of 8%. And in the 12th plan, that will start on 1st April 2012 and go on up to 31st March 2017. During this plan, 12th plan, 5-year plan, we are hoping to grow between 9% to 9.5%. That's the target that we have set for ourselves. But the good news there, as far as the education is concerned, Vibhaji was very right in saying that she said that she's hoping that in the 12th plan, we will focus on consolidation and expansion. That is precisely going to be the focus of the 12th five-year plan. 11th five-year plan was hailed as a plan which was meant for education sector, and the same process will continue. I can assure you that education and skill development in the 12th plan, education, skill development and health are going to receive a very high priority in resource allocation. There is a long overdue expansion of investment in social sector that is required, and the process that began in 11th plan will certainly continue in the 12th five-year plan. In fact, education sector, skill development sector and the health sector will be the priority areas for resource allocation in the 12th five-year plan. What I propose to do is to tell you briefly, take you around. Vibha's focus was more on higher education. What I want to do is to take you through primary education, secondary education, then higher technical education and skill development. So I want to give you a perspective on what is the vision, what is the current thinking about the vision for education sector in the next few years, but beginning with the 12th five-year plan that begins on 1st April 2012. So let's start with the school education. Let's start with the elementary education in particular. As you are all aware, in the elementary education, we have done very well. There are two very important schemes which were introduced earlier. One is Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan and other was midday meals. Under the impact of these two schemes, the access to elementary education has improved a great deal. In fact, one of the parameters that was used is that what percentage of habitations have a primary school within 1 kilometer radius of that village or habitation. In India, we have 12 lakh plus habitations, and I'm very happy to say that because of the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan as well as midday meal scheme, the access has improved tremendously, and today about 99% of the habitations, of the 12 lakh plus habitations, do have a primary school within 1 kilometer radius. Same thing about the upper primary school. For upper primary school, is expected that the criterion there was that there should be an upper primary school within 3 kilometer radius of every habitation. And that proportion has gone up to 84%, which is a remarkable change. So while the access has improved, access to elementary education has improved considerably, very significantly, there are very serious problems which are still there, and Vibhaji did mention some problems, including the very high dropout rate, and the requirements of the infrastructure requirement, and so on. So there is a long way. Teachers, there are problems about teachers availability, there are problems about infrastructure. So there are very serious problems that we need to address. So while on access to elementary education we have done very well, there are many more challenges that we need to address, and that will have to be addressed. Now today, last year in 2010, 1st April 2010, the right to education became operational. Now this was a revolutionary step that was taken, making it a legal entitlement for everybody in the age group of 6 to 14 to have a free and good quality education. Now what we will have to do is to reconcile or merge the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, which is education for all kind of initiative. Sarva Shiksha, we have to now merge the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan with the mandate given under the Right to Education Act. And there, the number of out-of-school children, again, this was a point that Vibha briefly alluded to, there are very large, discomfortingly large number of out-of-school children, and we'll have to bring them back to school, and that would require a major challenge. But the biggest challenge in the school education, particularly in the elementary education, is going to be quality of education. As I said, we have done very well as far as access is concerned, but there are grave concerns about the quality. Quality of education is truly a key to influence retention as well as a key to lowering the dropout rates in the schools. Despite marked improvement in access, enrollment and attendance of children and deployment of over 1 million additional teachers under the Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, recent evidence clearly suggests that there is a considerable scope for improvement in learning levels, reading and comprehension skills, and there are also very wide gaps in quality of education. It is a big challenge to bring about a culture of quality improvement in our massive educational system that has such wide divergences. divergence. Communities must be enabled to exert pressure for superior quality outcomes in the school system, and to do that, greater community involvement in the school management and ownership of schools is going to be needed. What are the challenges involved there? The universal access to good quality elementary education, which is now legally mandated, will calls for addressing several challenges to enhance the facilities and quality of education. And these include stepping up the provision for infrastructure through convergence with many other schemes, particularly schemes like Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, decentralized recruitment of qualified teachers to ensure their accountability to local authorities. It also requires capacity building of teacher training institutions which should be rated and brought under higher educational system for large-scale training of teachers. Finally, it would also require strengthening, monitoring and evaluation mechanism, including social audit for Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan as well as Mid-Day Meal Scheme, with web-based monitoring for transparency and periodic and sustained third-party evaluation. We now turn to the secondary education. With the universalization, with the elementary education being universalized, this is almost a reality. The next step is near universalization of secondary education as a logical sequel. This approach, which spanning through secondary and higher education, would be a dominant feature of the 12th five-year plan. Introduction of Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan that was done in the 11th plan, and model schools that also began in the 11th plan, will be two key initiatives which will require a further consolidation and expansion given the low gross enrollment ratios for secondary and higher secondary education. Since majority of our secondary schools, including aided schools, are under private management, it is essential that private sector capabilities and potential are fruitfully tapped in an acceptable manner through the format of PPP mode, public-private partnership mode, while concurrently stepping up public investment by the central as well as state governments. The centrally funded Kendriya Vidyalayas and Navodaya Vidyalayas are the premier public educational institutions in the arena of secondary education. The KVs and NVs could become hubs for inter-school activities so as to catalyze improvement in other public schools, in that area. This is especially true in the case of promoting science and mathematics education, organizing joint school seminars, exhibitions and so on, and running bridge courses, particularly in subjects like English. Similarly, supplementing that would have to be the adult literacy programs with Sakshar Bharat mission. That is the main vehicle, and that would also require a major step up in the 12th five-year plan with emphasis on scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, minorities, and of course women. That brings us to skill development. As Vibhaji was saying, we have one of the lowest proportion in the world of our youth taking vocational education. The number that she gave are a little dated, but still they are eye-opener. As far as our Indian education system is concerned, only 2% of our